All right, click subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Population 436. A census taker is sent to investigate why Rockwell Falls, has had the same population, which was 436 people, for over a century. He soon wishes he hadn't taken the job. This movie came out back in 2006 as an hour and a half long. One of those horror mystery type of movies. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So it starts out right up the back. This lady named Kathy's delivering a baby. At the same time, this guy named Ray is ducking the police. He ends up hitting a pothole and flipping the car, which exploded. Done deal, dead. Meanwhile, Kathy safely delivered the baby. Why the doctor and them looking all serious? Yo, it's supposed to be a happy time, yo. Anyway, afterwards, they had the funeral for Ray. His daughter Amanda was convinced he's trying to get the hell out of town. She's like, it's all a lie. What's a lie? But they're convinced she has quote unquote the fever. And they take her away and said the doctor would take care of it. Like, what the fuck? She's grieving because her dad died. Like, she looks back at this chick named Courtney like she's gonna be able to do anything about it. Then all of a sudden, we got this guy named Steve coming from Chicago. He's supposed to be visiting this town, coming from the Census Bureau. And he's only supposed to stay for a couple of days. But he doesn't know exactly where the town is, so he stops at the gas station. But when he asks about Rockwell Falls, they just turn their heads and walk away. That should have been a sign right there. Don't even fucking go. Well, somehow he keeps on driving. He ends up finding it. And as he does, he sees some girl riding a horse. But the horse ends up throwing her off. And at the same time, he hits this ridiculous ass pothole. A pothole that took out 2 of his left tires. But nonetheless, he's gonna go check on the girl. Turns out it was Courtney that was on the horse. And she tells him, don't come in this town, just turn back around. And then she just rides off. But it's not really like he could do anything. He's got 2 flat tires at this point. Next thing you know, sheriff comes through to help him out. He's like, look man, we got a tow truck over here, don't worry about it. Rides him into town to greet everybody. Meets another sheriff looking all mean and shit. And he meets the mayor. Then we got this little boy named Obi informing the cops that this lady has the fever. So all the rest of them go check it out. And this is the lady's husband who's looking at Steve like, what the fuck is he doing here? And damn, she got all these balls on her face and whatnot. Well, anyway, Billy invites Steve into the place that he's going to be staying at for the next couple days. And Steve is going to be staying with this lady. Now, Bobby's been talking to Steve about this chick he's going to marry someday. Turns out this chick just happened to be Courtney, because this is her and her mom's house. Quite the predicament, eh? Well, anyway, the cops and the mayor are somewhere else having some type of meeting. Feels more like a cult meeting more than anything. Meanwhile, they start talking about his work, and they all gather around for a nice dinner. Afterward, he gets to bed. Afterwards, he looks at a picture of his wife and his child who died in a car accident. They don't expound on it much, that's all we get. Then he has this crazy ass dream about being in a car with crosses, a truck coming after him, and there's fire all over the place. Crazy ass dream, right? I guess he came downstairs to get some water. Apparently, Courtney couldn't sleep either. She went there and got some stuff. She fixed him some type of drink to who he can go to sleep. And then he said he needs garlic. Now, name any type of drink in this fucking universe you'd have to add garlic to. Especially out there, they're not that advanced, they're not that high tech. What in all the fuck? Well, apparently it worked because he was able to get some sleep. He starts going around the neighborhood. He goes in this restaurant where he finds out Courtney's also a waiter too. And she starts asking him what's Chicago like. Because the thing is, she's never been outside of the town. And she says actually she's never been anywhere but this town. So she's just stuck there? What the fuck going on? And then this motherfucker's eyeballing Steve. Matter of fact, like a lot of people in the town be eyeballing Steve. Later on, he starts going over the numbers. He asks his other lady questions about the doctor, but she doesn't really give him any answers. She just tells him his location and he can ask for himself. Then he talks to the mayor since nobody's giving him a straight answer. The mayor's like, man, just enjoy the festival right now. You could worry about work later. He's like, alright, I might as well just listen to him for now. So later on, after Bobby drops Steve off at the house, we got this guy named Curly that keeps spying on him out of the blue. Never mind, I thought they were going to the house. They ended up going to a bar, so you know, they get the drinking on. Meanwhile, the lady's condition ain't getting no better. The husband starts spazzing out. Then we get to Amanda lying in the bed who ends up having the same type of dreams that Steve had. After she wakes up, she sees the doctors and all this other stuff. I don't know what they about to perform on her. She tells them she just had a bad dream, and they're like, that's how the quote-unquote fever starts. What the hell's this supposed fever? Then all of a sudden we see this machine working with the lights flickering on and off and Curly looking around trying to figure out what the fuck going on. Steve saw the lights flickering and he's like, hey, is something going on with the power? Bobby's like, the town got some electrical problems, but we all good and gravy. Then the angry husband comes in with a motherfucking shotgun, threatening to blow Steve's head off. It's like, what the fuck? So he says everything was just fine until Steve came here. He messed up the population. My wife wasn't sick before you got here. Then he keeps talking about it's the prophecy. I'm gonna need some backstory on this prophecy. But they don't explain nothing. Bobby just takes the gun and tells him to go home. So he asks Bobby what's that all about. He's like, man, it's just some superstition. He ain't nothing. As he tells Steve there's never been a murder out here in Rockwell Falls. It's like, okay. Meanwhile, Curly got that crazy look in his eye like something going down. Next day, Steve makes a visit to the Jacobs. Then he talks to this lady that gives up her life story and she gets him to carve apples. Afterwards, he's walking around the forest where he stumbles onto a class where Obi's teaching. I don't know what he's teaching. He's speaking in tongues and shit. They got candles lit. They got satanic pictures up. It's like, what the fuck are they teaching these elementary school kids? Then he ends up bumping into Bobby again. He tells him that the farmer's wife is be just fine. He says she just had some spoiled milk. Okay. Spoiled milk doesn't put fucking welts on your face. Then he drives Steve over to Dr. Griever's spot. Yeah. He was just quote unquote carrying up this lady who was monotone as fuck. I guess that was this guy's wife or something. He tried to ask the doctor a couple questions, but he had to take a house call. Then as he left, he heard Amanda screaming for help. Then these two pop out of nowhere talking about, yeah, she's perfectly fine. They said she suffers from schizophrenia and paranoia. But we all know that's some bullshit. But Steve don't know yet. So he goes along with it and dips out, but he does have his suspicions. Then he talks to the sheriff, who is very passive when it comes to Steve's observations about Dr. Griever. He believes Dr. Griever can do no wrong, even though he doesn't have a certified license practicing. He said, we don't really involve city folk in our affairs. Yeah, I know, Steve, it's basically illegal. Hell, their motto is Rockwell Falls, the most perfect place on earth. No, seriously, they got little picture frames in houses that says that shit. And when somebody tells you a place is perfect, 9 times out of 10, it's far from it. Yeah. Then later on they go out shooting bottles. Then Bobby feels like Steve is his new best friend. He talks about Courtney again and trying to marry her for real this time. Steve's like, man, you gotta go get it, man. Then he drops Steve off back at the house by the barn. But when he goes through the barn, this dude just pops out of nowhere just staring at him like, what the fuck? And then afterwards just runs off. Then the mom comes downstairs and is like, oh, you must have seen Curly. He was one of the guys that had quote unquote the fever a while ago, but then the doctor cured him. Like seriously, what the fuck is this fever? Then as he's walking upstairs, he sees Courtney stripping down in front of a mirror. She sees him, but she don't cover herself up though. I mean, she had the door wide open like she was waiting on him. Don't do it. You only got one friend in this town. It's Bobby. Well, anyway, he goes to his room ready to go to sleep. Has the same crazy ass dream again, wakes up, goes to work, and he notices that about a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 year span, the number of the population has not changed. There's always been 436. But the question is, why? Then he sees this book that has all these Necronom symbols on it, with a bunch of satanic shit, with a bunch of Ouija board numbers on it. If that book could come alive, it would be the book from the Evil Dead, for real. Later on, he goes to the store to get some supplies. Then this motherfucker pops up again. And the store clerk's like, man, he's harmless. He'll pretty much forget everything that happened today and tomorrow, whatever. But then all sitting out of the blue, he just lashed out, started choking Steve. I'm like, what the fuck? Then he pushed him off and the store owner calmed him down. Then as he's leaving the store, Obi rides through. Obi starts telling him some weird shit that Steve is like, yo, what is the fever? He says he doesn't know, but they all look the same when they get it. They look happy. Steve's like, what else do they look like? Obi's like, they look like you. And then just rides off. So apparently the fever is the power to think on your own and whatnot. They want everybody to stay in this happy little town. If you start getting grand ideas about leaving, they deem you as sick. Basically, it's a fucking cult. So he sneaks back over to Dr. Griever's office while he's not in the office. Go upstairs, finds Amanda, he tells her, like, I'm gonna get you up out of here. He says he's coming to break her out. She's like, you can't, you're stuck here. They were like, this is your new job. She says if you try to leave, they'll try to deem you as sick. Talk about they quote unquote want to help you. And she's like, you know everybody's watching you, right? Then he sees the burn marks that she's got on the side of her face. He's about to complain to the people about her treatment, but she doesn't feel like she's going to be able to escape. So she pretends to be kidnapped in order for them to deem her not sick. Because if she was willingly wanting to leave on her own and got caught, they'd probably give her shock treatment. Steve is like, tell me how the Dr. Griever's really helping people. Dr. Griever's like, I'm just getting the sicknesses out of him and stuff like that. They're basically trying to convince him of the situation, but Steve knows it's all a bunch of bullshit. He tries to call 911 from their landline, but it turns out it just connects to somebody in the town. Steve was back at the house while this was going on, and you got the sheriff and the other guy out there shooting, and they're waiting on Steve to come through. Bobby's like, man, he probably just forgot or something. But while that's going on, Steve is right now in the same room with Courtney, and she's talking about, man, I want to get up out of here. I'm trying to leave. But she don't know how. She feels like she's stuck. He's like, if you get up out of here, take me with you. And he promises to take her out. He tried to resist her, but he ain't tried hard enough. Meanwhile, after Bobby finished shooting, this nigga got a ring and he's finally going to propose to Courtney. Too bad Courtney's getting the business from Steve. And on top of that, Bobby went to the barn and he caught them. Now, Bobby's thinking to himself, man, he did all this just to smash my girl and shit. And Bobby was the only friend you have in this town. That's done deal. Considering how everybody else is acting, that's the one person that kind of wants to be on your side. Well, scratch all that shit. Next day, they go to the fair. They go dancing, but she tells them there's a back way where the delivery trucks come when they leave out at night. So like, that's the exit we're going to take when we get up out of here. Then the mayor gives his speech. They do this annual ritual. This lady named Miss Ruby, they makes a bunch of damn pies. Then he meets a lady he talked to a while ago. She said the ritual is because of you, Steve. Because you being here, this makes it 437 people. But it's got to be 436. Oh no. They unveiled the curtain and they got Ruby on a fucking hang rope. She's talking about she's so happy and blessed and thanking everybody for the opportunity. I'm like, what the fuck? And then they drop her, it's done. These niggas brainwashed, they all clapping and shit. I thought this was the most perfect place on earth. I thought they didn't kill people, huh? What the fuck was that? Then he starts causing a scene. He's like, man, you guys are fucking sick. And then they hold him down because they deem him of having the fever. Next thing you know, he wakes up on the bed. They give him this type of shock therapy because they want him to permanently be part of the residence. You part of the 436, nigga. Then next thing you know, somebody sent a letter to the Census Bureau from Steve. Probably one of the cops sent it, but they sent it with this picture of him and Courtney. Talking about he officially living now in Rockwell Falls. His friend Frank is looking at it like, man, what the fuck is this shit? You know he's about to go down there and try to get him. Then all of a sudden, this nigga Steve wakes up and he's back at Courtney's house. He gets up and starts running. The lady called the sheriff and they got the dogs hunting him. Meanwhile, Dr. Griever's office, they got Courtney and they definitely gonna start fucking with her head. This nigga runs towards a car, but Curly comes back and tells him get out the car, that shit don't work. See, Curly knows the deal. He's not crazy. He just does that because he's trying to fit in with the rest of everybody else. So when the sheriff and all the boys finally catch up with Steve, Curly just tells him he wanted to spend time with Steve, and that's what Steve forgot. He was just going to go over there and, chill out. They were suspicious about it, but they let him go about his business. Curly wants to help him out, but he knows he's not going to go anywhere. So he gives Steve directions about the best road to take. Deputy Hecker wants Bobby to kill Steve, but Bobby can't do it. So Hecker's like, shit, if you don't do it, I'll do it my damn self. I guess he has some type of traumatic experience where he doesn't have the heart to kill anybody anymore. Even if the guy was smashing your girl and shit. Steve comes back to the store to get some kerosene, and because the heckler cop is tailing him, Steve went out the back door. So Steve's about to light the barn on fire as a distraction. Bobby finds him and puts the gun on him. Aw, shit. But Bobby doesn't have the heart to shoot him. Then Bobby was about to kill himself at one point. Steve took the gun and stopped him from killing himself, but he had to knock him out. He did get him to safety though. Comes back and burns up the fucking barn. Fire everywhere. Then he goes back to Dr. Griever's office, puts the gun on him and tells him like, hey, where's Amanda? He goes down to the cellar and sees all this lobotomy shit. Just a bunch of things to fuck up your mind with. Then he passes by this cage that has the family of Helen Hawks. They just chilling like everything's all good and gravy. He sets them free, but they're like, this is our home, we're not going anywhere. Then he finds Amanda and frees her, gets her up out of there. And then they just close the door, they just don't want to leave. They've been brainwashed, goddammit! So as they're leaving, the cops are on their trail, and they make it out to this field with all these broken down cars. My guess is these are the people of cars that they killed when the population got greater than 436. And trust me, there's a lot of them out there. Anyway, they get to a tow truck that actually works, and he makes a trip back to the house to pick up Courtney. Unfortunately, she's fried, done deal, dead. Well, not really dead. She just basically belongs to Rockwell. Yep, she gave in. Now it's time for you to get Amanda and get the hell up out of there. Now Steve and Amanda about to get ghost, but then Bobby stops him and Heckler's right behind him. So what's Bobby gonna do? But in a twist, Bobby ends up shooting Heckler. Oh shit. And tells Steve get the fuck up out of here. I guess cause since he's only taking Amanda and not Courtney, Bobby still probably feels like he's got a shot with Courtney, so that's my guess on why he didn't shoot him. And they finally get the fuck out of town. They made it. But then all of a sudden, lightning starts hitting, the cross hits down, dolls on the thing. I'm like, oh shit, this is looking like his dream. It's looking like both their dreams. The monkey thing from their dreams, and then a fucking Mack truck comes out of nowhere. Oh no. Yep, they got done. Next thing we see, flat tires. This officer coming out to help somebody. Turns out it's Frank. He's looking for Steve, and he's literally in the same spot Steve was heading into Rockwell Falls. And he takes him in, and the process starts all over again. What the fuck, man? And there you have it. Here's a fun fact for you. I didn't know the cop was Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. Yeah, the dude Bobby and shit. Population 436 on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Slick, easy, on the easy, mister. Big. Who did I do the slogan?